Hello everyone, this is Charlotte and this is a podcast called Chatting in Cars. This is where I talk about various topics while I drive to work, heavily caffeinated, screaming at people, generally being a dick to other drivers, I don't know. Possibly. We've got to be inclusive in this and considerate of our input. Right, there is a disclaimer at the start of this podcast because I do talk about sensitive topics and I do swear a lot, which I like doing, so I'm going to keep doing. I feel that it affects the fluidity of my thoughts, so if I can't swear I tend to glitch and I don't like it. I also have a stutter or a stammer, which hopefully hasn't kicked in yet today, although I am heavily caffeinated so I can't guarantee it won't do it. Other than that, the topic for today is privacy, if I don't get run over. Alright, there are various forms of privacy. I was raised to believe that you should be as private as possible, which is a bit hypocritical considering I'm doing this podcast right now. But the reason my parents pushed for privacy and keeping your cards to yourself was because it was an abusive relationship. It was not a great place to grow up in or to grow up around. And the reason they wanted us to keep, as much as possible to ourselves was because it was in-house abuse and they knew that they'd get in shit for it. So that's the reason they pushed for privacy. There was a sense of never talk about the family to anyone because they knew they'd get in shit. Quite frankly, putting it simple. Ooh, intersection. So I grew up in a very private thing. I mean, they tried to push it as sort of like a level of decency, but at the same time, what they were doing at home wasn't exactly decent to their kids. So it was more like self-protection for them, covering their ass. So we grew up not talking outside the family, and if you did talk outside the family, you got a pretty physical response. You were never allowed to go against the family. Anything like taking from the family. I remember getting in shit one time for nicking 50 cents out of my dad's coin collection. It was weird. I think it was like 7 at the time. And he went full berserker about this fucking thing. And he said, screaming at me, never take money from the family. You never ask me fucking anything again. And I'm like, dude, I'm 7. Don't put that pressure on a 7-year-old. Come on. But he was that kind of a guy growing up. So, he's a bit more mellow now. But he was just a generally dickish guy. I don't think he actually wanted to be a parent, to be honest. I think he found himself in a situation which seemed like a good idea when he started and then snowballed into something he didn't like and so couldn't handle the situation. Particularly when he had Peter Pan syndrome and didn't want to grow the fuck up, put bluntly. That might have played on some forms of, depression or some shit like that. Because most of the time when he wasn't being a berserker, he was sleeping and ignoring the situation altogether. My mom carried the heavy weight of the household, 4 kids, no money, and an asshole husband. So, she did what she could, but she also took it out on us, which I can see the value of what she did for us. Obviously, she was working with what she had and she was trying possibly her hardest, but at the same time, you don't take that shit out on the kids. The kids don't know what the fuck's going on. We were blank slates for the majority of our childhood. We didn't know what the fuck was going on, but you don't take it out on your kids. That's an adult problem that you guys need to sort out with yourself. But, that's the only aspect I can see. Like, I do appreciate what my mum did for us, but at the same time, you don't beat the fuck out of your kids because you can't handle the stress of the situation. You just don't. So there was a lot of secrecy around abuse, poverty. We never talked about money. Outside of the family, and my parents were big into the drama of it. They still are into the big of the drama of it, really. They love fucking drama and stirring up shit, even now, and it's because they're empty nesters at this point, because no one wants to go back, quite frankly. But growing up, maybe they were stressed as fuck, obviously, of course, in those situations, and pumping up the drama of the situation rather than actually giving solutions or anything made them feel better. Or as kids, you don't recognize the weight of the situation in a poverty cycle. You just think, oh, this is shitty, I'm not getting what I want. which is a very mature way of doing things. But my parents might have understood the weight of the situation in terms of we nearly lost the house a few times, and we're signed on to Centrelink and stuff like that. So in order to give us a grasp of what the depth of the situation was, maybe that's why they pumped up the drama of it. But my childhood was basically a series of sitting in this constant state of chaos and panic about whether we're going to be homeless or if we're going to be able to eat. Or, it's like it was never a case of, oh, this is a warm, loving nature, nurturing environment. We're going to be fine. We nearly lost the house a few fucking times. And my parents were like, we're going to go live in a van. I'm like, what the fuck? There's 4 of us kids. Where are we going to get? It's these very real scenarios, and they had no problem telling us. So this weight of the poverty cycle was on us as kids. My parents made it clear that we were burdens creating this problem. My mum made it clear that the only reason she was staying with us was because of us. With Dad was because of him. Because of us. So it's a hell of a weight. And of course you're not allowed to tell anyone in case, DCP gets involved. It's a hell of a lot of stress to put on our kids. And then it was good though because we kind of banded together against the grown-ups. So it promotes cohesion in your team, which is kind of like hazing in the military, I think. It's like you hate your squad leader, but you band together with your mates. That's a tactic they do use to promote cohesion among soldiers, which I find annoying because it just added to the already, militaristic hazing that my mum put out as parenting. Oh, bitch. It's like, don't do that. You're meant to be nurturing. You're meant to be loving your children. But it was a very Spartan existence in any case. You pretty much made your own childhood. You had to figure out what you were going to do. Most of the time I remember a large chunk of that just hiding from my parents. And it wasn't just a case of I'm hiding from my parents because I don't want to do anything for them. I don't want to have to do the jobs for them. It was a case of if I don't hide from them, this shit's going to get real. So there was a lot of hiding under plants in the backyard. We had these massive bear paw ferns. The kind of ferns, they're actually a form of rhubarb, which I saw at Highgrove one time when I was on tour. Highgrove is a royal house in Tetbury. But they're massive. The leaves are like the size of a small dinner table, And I used to go hide under those and just ground myself. I didn't know I was grounding at the time because I was a little kid, but I was sitting there and I was just, I like the smell, I like the texture, I'm not leaving here. Because every time I go in that house, they kick off. I'm like, So it was a life of loud noises and aggression and a lot of agitated energy mixed with panic, mixed with who can I turn to, or this hurts, this physically hurts, why are you doing this to me? And it was not a stable environment. And my greatest wish, even around about 10 years old, I started building like cubby houses and nests outside of the fucking house, was to just get out. It was to get out. That was my dream. People ask, what do you want when you grow up? So I want to get the fuck out. And I was building like cubby houses out of black tarmac, black plastic and stuff that we had like a roll of, because my mum was into landscaping at one point. This is one of the ways she was apparently going to save us, was to become a horticulturalist. We learned about planting trees and vegetables and stuff like that, which is good because I gained a lot of knowledge about different plants and herbs and things, and which could heal and which could kill. So that was an interesting view into that kind of side of things. But the extra things you learn is how to like build things as well, landscaping, how to lay garden out, and how to. And we were taught the more practical sides of things, like renovating as well through that, because my mum wanted us to be very hands-on. But I was building these cubby houses, and it was fully decked out. I had like toilets and everything in there. I was good to go. I'm like, I'm not going in that fucking house again. I'm living out here. It's like, I don't want to be with these people. They just saw it as playing. I'm like, no, there is a functioning toilet in here. I'm not going back in there. All I need is like a kitchenette. I'm good. So that was my dream growing up, was to get out and get my house and just get the fuck away from these assholes. But you were never allowed to tell anyone about it. Yeah. You're never allowed to talk about how little money you had, or what your parents were doing to you, or how you felt about anything. My parents wanted us to be silent. What's that saying they say about the kids, best seen and not heard? That was very much my parents' viewpoint of what kids should be. It was best seen, not heard, and very compliant. I don't know if that's a generational thing or just the fact that they're both mentally fucked in the head. So, hence the reason I became a people pleaser later on in life. It's like, I will just keep the peace at any fucking cost, even if it means me. I will throw myself on the fucking fire just to keep the noise down and the chaos down, and please stop the angriness. So, that develops into CPTSD later on in life if you're interested in getting diagnosed. Most likely it will. I already had the underlying tones of, or the traits of autism at the time, unrecognized, undiagnosed, all the way up through school, not into my 33, 34, I got diagnosed. So all the weird shit that I was having difficulty with, even though I was really good at school because it was a safe place and I could just flourish, all the personality traits I didn't understand and all the weird stuff was already, there. And it was just worked on by the environment I was in. So anything like my selective mutism, for example, I already had a propensity to not want to talk. This right now, I'm talking easily because I'm on my own. I can talk with kids as well, easily enough. I have no problems talking with kids, but when other adults get involved, that's when things start fucking up. So I've really got to work on that. Honestly, I think that's selective mutism mixed with trauma response, because growing up, your abuse comes from an adult. This person is not just someone who's on your level, who's your size. And they say pick fights with someone your own size. These people were double my height, double my width. It's like this person was coming at me like a crazy bitch, the amount of anger and fiery fury and all that shit, because they were pissed off that I had done something. So it's pretty intimidating. It's a mess of a thing for a kid to grow up in. But you're just expected to deal with it, and no one got involved. I found no one got involved, because you think about it, if you do this to someone as an adult, what they used to do to us as kids, you go to prison, you get done for assault. So I don't know what the difference of age or social position makes. It's okay if a parent does it to a kid, but if it's an adult to another adult, that's bad. So I found these weird double standards growing up, and I didn't understand any of it. So I just wanted to stay out of their fucking hair, just get away from them. I spent the majority of my teens in my bedroom, not because I was a teenager, but because I was trying to get the fuck away from these assholes. My parents put it down to I was just a teenager. No, by that time I was well and truly fed up with the whole situation. I didn't want to go anywhere near them. I'm not doing this. I think by about 12, fear just turned into anger. I'm just like, I'm not doing this. I'm just gonna hide. I can't stand this shit. I spent most of my mid-teens, while still living at home, hiding outside in a rundown little greenhouse with my younger sister Pookie, bitching about my parents, because it wasn't a case of just the normal, oh, my mum won't let me get my way. It's like my mum actively cracked the fuck out of us. We were denied a lot of things. We were denied our identity. Well, I was denied my identity as a female, for example, because she found out I had, like a puppy love boyfriend at one point. And so I was, she went through and ripped out everything that identified me as a female. And she black bagged it and binned it. And I'm sitting there thinking, at 15 or so, it's horrific, these things they do to you. That are complete violations of the rights of the child. And it was just considered parenting at that stage. It's like, I'm bigger than you, I'm older than you, I birthed you. Maybe. I still don't know. It's like looking at the genetics and the phenotypes, I'm going, I don't look like you. I don't understand this. Am I the fluke or something? I don't look like you, it's weird. But, they assumed that they knew better, and so this was the treatment that was appropriate for the child. Things I would never do to a kid. And they just rolled with it. But again, you're not allowed to say otherwise, because A, you're the child in a submissive position. You're smaller, younger, and dumber. You don't know better, apparently. Which has its limits. Some kids are quite bright, and you sit there and think, actually, yeah, you were pretty good. But some kids are a bit dull. Also, you go, no, maybe the adult does know better in the circumstances. But those were extreme examples of an exploitation of position in a household. I mean, fuck me. Looking back, it was a complete violation of children's rights. We were labor. We had no sense of identity. We were not allowed to think for ourselves because it wasn't compliant to whatever they wanted us to do. We lived in constant fear, or at least I did. I don't know about the others, but they weren't having a good time when they were getting their head kicked in too. You know, it's just, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with that generation where this was deemed normal? You know, it's fine. And I talked to my friends and stuff, and you know, they didn't have the same kind of circumstances, but we lived in an area where there were similar ones. Like our next door neighbor kids, there was a kid called Nelson, and he had a brother, I think it was Daniel. But our backyards were near to each other, and we went to the same school, but you could hear the screaming from next door when they were getting their ass kicked. I was sitting there, and we joke about it the next day. It's like, what the fuck did you do? It's like, oh, fucking did this. But it's not something to be joked about because it's traumatizing. But that's pretty much why I make a joke about it now, because it's so outlandish and so weird that you would actually do this to a kid that we have to make a joke about it. Otherwise, it'd be totally fucked up, and the police should have got involved. I think the only form of abuse my parents didn't do was sexual abuse. That came later. Or drug abuse. We didn't have drugs in the house or alcohol. But what they did with their words, with their hands, or with anything they could get to hand, just to prove a point, was entirely fucking horrible. And then we should have been able to talk to someone. And that's why we sort of, oh fuck me, it's traumatized. This is why I still get like night terrors and stuff, because I still remember stuff. Like my dad get me on the floor and shit. And he never fucking touched us, to be honest, but he tried to like one time he went to go fucking hit me, and I'm like, this is the point where I move out. But it's that agitation of energies that's sort of stored in your body as a reflexive memory, which is why I get fucked up when I exert myself physically, and my tremor starter comes out when I try to remember. It's not fun. It fucks you up. So I don't know how. Like, we weren't coming to school with marks on us, I suppose, because that's an indicator for teachers now. It's like, if we see something suspicious, we have to record it. Like, I work in low SES schools. I've seen kids come into school with like burn marks and shit on them, and cuts and grazes and bruises, big ones. And we have to take note, and we have to write it down and record it in case it's something more serious. It might just be them fucking around. But at the same time, you know, in case it's abuse, we have to write it down. But because we weren't coming to school with any kind of real marks on our bodies that were visible, there were visible marks. They were just covered up with clothes. But because, and we weren't talking about it, it was just seen as, oh, she's a quiet girl, or she's compliant, oh, she's got lovely manners. And we were always told, our parents were always told, she's got amazing manners, or we're very polite kids. So yeah, because they kicked the shit out of us. If we went to like people's houses and we weren't allowed to accept anything, because my mum made it absolutely clear, don't you ever fucking ask for anything. We're out the house, you don't ask for anything. You don't ever ask for fucking anything. Anyone offers you anything, you don't take it. So, okay, do you want a biscuit? No, thank you. Absolutely no thank you, please don't. You'll put a vodka. She'll kick the shit out of us again. It was completely mental, the way these people were parents. And then all this was the effect of, oh, these are well-raised children. It's like, we were in fear for decades. And by the time we got to our teens, it was just disgust and anger, you know? It's like, I don't understand this. But the good thing is, out of that, you get a sense of what you don't want to be. It's like, I will never want to be like my mum. I do have the same job as her, but the way she treats kids, or treated us, it's like, absolutely fucking not. It's like, no, because I know where it goes and I know how much it hurts. So it does give you an alternative viewpoint. And you've got a sense of choice as well. It's like, you could choose to turn out like them, or you could choose to go the other way, which is good. But the thing is, we need to be able to give kids a voice as well. It's like, don't keep pushing for this privacy. If you see something wrong or something is going wrong, give them a chance to use their voice. Most of the time, they're already afraid to speak up. just because they're kids. A lot of kids just won't ask for something because they got a weird sense of, I suppose, being a burden or something, or they're just shy or something like that. I don't know. But it's like when kids ask to go to the toilet. It's like, yeah, go to the toilet. I'll let them go to the toilet. I don't give a shit. But sometimes they're afraid to ask, and it's that weird. Like, you could sit in pain as a kid. You could sit in pain needing to go for a wee, and you're afraid to speak up and ask to go because in case you get in trouble. It's like, I wouldn't just go. I don't want to see these kids in pain over something as simple and silly as that. So I just let them go. Other teachers get shitty. So you can't just let them go when they want to go. It's like, well, apparently I fucking can. It's like, I don't care. They're just trying to get out of class. Well, at least they won't piss on the floor. It's like, I don't care. Let them go. Oh my god, it's weird. And there's a lot of things you could talk about. I know I went off on one tangent there, but privacy in itself, I don't feel like you should conceal your stories if you're going through something. I don't know. I was raised conservative, and you don't air your dirty laundry. But when the dirty laundry is abuse and it's affecting other people as well, and it's being spread by hiding it behind things and not wanting to see other people to see the shit that's going on, all it does is protect the abusers. So I don't mind talking about things that are private. That's the reason I do the disclaimer at the start of this podcast, because I'm saying, look, these are sensitive topics. You might not want to know about them. You might want to keep to yourself if you know. But I still discuss them. I'm going, this is a topic that needs to be talked about. Here's my experiences with it. What do you think? Or just saying it. Sometimes, most of the time, it's just venting stuff because it doesn't make sense, and I'm trying to understand it by hearing it out loud. That's part of the autism as well. Paired in with echolalia, where you hear a word in your head and you're trying to understand it more, so you repeat it out loud, and it's trying to find the feeling attached to the word and the sound and the letters itself. So that's what it is. People go, oh, they're crazy, they're talking to themselves. Like, no, I'm just trying to understand it a bit deeper by hearing it out loud. There's nothing wrong with it, and besides the fact, everybody talks to themselves anyway. They just wait a minute. I mean, there are obviously times when you need to be more private when it comes to, say, data at this point. For example, I've just deleted all my cookies on my laptop because I was signed into some sites I didn't recognize. I'm going, what the fuck is this shit? So if I have data breach, I don't know, but I just wiped them all out. This is fun. So I'm a bit safer in that way. And some people, like, for example, won't post who they're with, like in a relationship or something like that, and that's considered privacy. I'm still going, is it privacy? I mean, to what end is this private? Like, who is not allowed to know that you're A, with someone, or B, who you're with? I mean, if you're with that person and you love them, then you should be proud of that person enough to tell people, this is my person. So I don't understand why they go that way. Just screams insecurity and possibly hints towards not wanting to be with them because you're hiding them. It's like, this is who I'm with. It's like, who are you afraid to tell who you're with? It's like, I think there's something underhanded there. It's like, when I was married, I was happy to be married, even though, it was who it was. But I told everyone, I didn't give a shit. I'm like, this is my guy. This is what I'm doing. What's that meme? That's my man. That's my man. That meme? I laugh. It's like, this one? It's like, yeah. I love those memes. They're hilarious. But you take ownership of your person and your decisions, and you say, this is who I'm with. Anyone doesn't like it, fuck off. This is my own personal adult decision. I don't understand why people would need to hide who they're with. It just seems odd. It's like you almost don't want to be there. Or maybe you're ashamed of them or something. Some people claim it's like, oh, just privacy, so they can't have a dig at me, or privacy. It's like, there's no shame in telling people who you're with. As long as it's the right thing for you, who cares? So I do worry about that kind of stuff. Like, my ex-boyfriend never wanted to put a label on it. He never wanted to post me on Facebook. He never wanted to tell people we were together. I'm sitting there going, this is because you're trying to keep your options open, you slutty fuck. It's like, you don't want me, you just want use of me. He never took ownership of anything that we did together. It was always a case of me being an option. So it's like, I can see where this is going and how little value you've invested in this relationship, even though I'm calling it a relationship. To you, I'm just an option. So, you know, we're varying value to what we were calling this one type of situation. In all honesty, he wanted a fuck buddy that would go drinking with him and pay for his shit. I wanted a boyfriend heading into a husband. So we had different ideas about what we wanted. So it was a complete mismatch. So it wouldn't have mattered if he had been honest or not. But it was one of the reasons why he wasn't honest, because he wanted to keep his options open. If he put on Facebook or something like that he had a girlfriend or he had someone, then first of all, the girls or the others that he had on Facebook would have gone, oh, he's taken, maybe. Or in the case of the local pub, they might have tried a bit harder. Yeah. Some girls will see it as competition. So if they see someone with someone, they'll, you know, try and fuck them up or break up the relationship or something. I don't understand those girls, but, you know, some people are psychotic. So, you know, it's like, I can see that they're happy. How can I break them up? Because I want that. And then they get that, and then they realize that that is actually shit. So I found that hilarious too. It's like, you don't even know what's going on in this situation. You see the nice bits of it, and then you try and take it, and then you realize the nice bits are actually non-existent. Kind of that fool's gold mentality. But they won't learn until they do it themselves. Interesting. But, you know, that's one of the excuses when people say sometimes that they want to keep their relationship private in case someone else damages it or tries to damage it. If the people around you are trying to damage your relationship, are they the people you're supposed to be hanging around with? They're clearly not in your corner. They don't give a fuck about your relationship, and they're willing to hurt you and the person you're with to prove a point. So maybe you need to stop fucking hanging out with these people. It's absurd. It's like, what? The people that you were hanging out with would probably be supportive of a relationship, to be honest, if they were your friends. The people who you're competing with would probably have a go at tearing it apart. They're either competing with you to make you miserable, or they're competing with this person you're with to make them miserable. Or it's like, these are not your friends. If you feel there is a sense of conflict and competition in your social group, then these are not your fucking people. Social groups are meant to be friendly, happy places you go to relax and to make conversation and communicate and connect with people. If you're having to compete and fight and all this nastiness, tell them to fuck off. These aren't your people. It's like, you're not even getting paid to do this. I don't understand why you would do it. It's absurd. These are not relaxing people. It's like having a relationship. Relationships should be a relaxing thing you come home to. If the person you're with is giving you fucking more trauma than, you know, than they're doing good, then it's probably not your person, you know? It's absurd. And we're just settling for these people because they're familiar and it's here right now, and I don't have to work for anything further than this. It's laziness. Get up. Stop being silly. You're settling for shit because it's familiar shit. And it's convenient shit. But that's, yeah, it's absurd. I'm trying to stop doing that. Hopefully I don't run into another one of those. I say that now, but I'm terrible. Anyway, too fucking nice. I gotta stop being nice. I gotta be mean. Grr. I could be mean. I could be very mean. I'll try to be mean. I'll eat their snacks. I'm good at that. I'll just eat their snacks. They'll never see it coming. I'm like a ninja. But, you know, it's absurd, this privacy. I don't... Like, when people get gagged as well, socially, like on a social scale, like Epstein, people who tried to report Epstein for whatever he fucking did, and he did it quite a bit, they were being gagged with, like, legal threats and money issues. You know, like, these rich people have enough money to gag someone if they don't like what they're about to say, like gag orders, like waivers and stuff like that. If you enter employment here, you're not allowed to talk to anyone about what you see. That should be a red flag in employment. It's like, as soon as you see something, as soon as someone serves you an order, like a gag order, before you've actually started working for someone, you should see that as a red flag. Clearly there's some shit going down where they don't want you talking about it, and it's more than just protecting their brand. There's obviously some fucked up shit going on where legal ramifications will ensue, minimum. Sometimes there's other stuff depending on who you're working for, if you so choose to report anything that's bad. Like, if you become a whistleblower and you see some fucked up shit, and you want to report it, knowing that it's bad, and you want to report it, and they can just gag you with either paying you off or a threatening legal issue because it affects their brand. Even though you've seen it, it should be a huge red flag that this person is not on the level, or this business is, or this brand is not on the level, and you should fucking report it anyway. A lot of shit is just covered up for the sake of privacy and protecting images. It's absurd. It's like, for example, how many cover-ups have there been in like the royal family, with Prince Andrew, who's now near enough a convicted pedophile thanks to his associations with Epstein. And it's just so much covering up for the sake of protecting a brand, when realistically you need to cut them loose and just make them take their own fucking... You need to just... Like, if he's a pedo, he should go to court as a pedo. Don't protect a pedo. Who's to say it's not your kid next? You know, it's like, he's a pedo, we gotta get him done. But he's a celebrity and he's rich and he's him. It's like, who gives a fuck? He's a pedo. Get rid of him. You know, it's like they're so afraid of looking like the bad guy. Like within the institution, for example, the Royal Family Institution, they're so afraid of looking like the bad guy by handing over someone who's actually got links to a pedophile and potentially could be a pedophile. They don't want to be the bad guy. It's bad for their brand because he's still considered part of their brand, unfortunately, by family ties. But at the same time, you would get more points for outing someone who's clearly on the wrong than protecting him. It's harboring a fugitive. It's, you know, that's against the law in itself, for example. You know, if you're running from the cops, or someone you know is running from the cops, and you harbor them in your house, you get done for being an accessory to the crime. Because you're, what is it? They're enabling them or something like that. There's a term for it in cop terms. There is, I've got it in my head, I just can't get to my brain. Enabling, something like that. But you're giving them the opportunity to hide and to potentially reoffend. So you can't do that. It is against the law. You can't hide criminals. You're getting shit for it. I think it's the same way with like the royal family. I think honestly, in that particular term, fuck privacy, hand him over to the cops, because clearly needs to face what he's done. No amount of money or fame should protect you from that. P. Diddy's getting raided at the moment, which is interesting. He's got a couple of big houses that are getting big raids on them. And it's a case of, well, you want to remain private, but why do you want to remain private? Like, I remember when all the CCTV cameras went up in London. People were pissed. It's like, oh, it's an invasion of our privacy. And I maintain, it's like, what are you doing that needs that level of privacy where you can't stand on the street? No, then what's the fucking problem? What are you doing? I was like, well, actually, I'm dealing drugs. It's like, well, then you're in trouble, aren't you? It's like, there's an invasion of my privacy. What, your privacy to commit crime? What a shame. If they were in your house viewing you on your toilet or something like that, I'd understand. It's like, no, that it actually is a private moment. There is a sense of possibly people exploiting the information and the imagery, especially with like AI now, that they've collected through these CCTV cameras. Have you ever seen the cameras in action when they try and catch someone, and the grainy ass footage? It's like, we're going to catch this guy. You're never going to be able to use that camera footage to create any kind of AI because it's so shockingly shit. So what's the problem? It's like, it's an invasion of my privacy. What privacy? What, this shadowy grey figure doing fuck all on the street? We can't even see your face, technically. Well, some cameras can, but, you know. So what? I mean, most of the time it's there for protection anyway. I know I've stood on... Like, I was on a train platform one time. I think it was in Fulham, actually. And I don't know who was on duty at the time watching the cameras, but they did a fucking good job, because there was a nutter on the train thing. Like, either someone reported it, or Jesus, that's right, or maybe the cameras picked up on it. But I was like looking at this nutter, and I'm looking at the cameras, and I'm looking at the nutter, and I'm going, and within something like 10 minutes someone had turned up to collect the nutter, and I'm like, thank you. What are you doing? Reverse parallel parking. Any number of you're a dick. I hate reverse parallel parkers. There's an entire row of empty spots. No, I've got to hold up 6 cars and do reverse parallel parking. People give me the shit. You don't need to do that. Just find a different spot. Crazy. So, anyway, I've got to hurry up now. But that's the thing, is the only people that seem to want that level of privacy are the ones that are committing crimes. So I do wonder, it's like, what are you doing that people can't know about? It's like, usually it's something more untoward. It's not just a case of, oh, I went to the shops and bought some sweets. You bastard, what a crime. It's usually a case of, I'm actually selling drugs out of my house and shit like that. You go, oh really? But we don't want our movements monitored. So therefore, we're going to complain that it's an invasion of our privacy. It's like, isn't that just playing the victim while being, you know, the criminal at the same time? It's an invasion of our privacy. You're not mafia, sit down. It's like, you don't get to claim that level of hypocrisy? I don't know. It's crazy. But I will say, and I got to sum up now because I got to go into class. If you are having trouble with something, the best thing you can do is talk about it. I mean, it does encourage that sort of level of narcissism and discussion as well, where everybody needs to know your business because you're you. But at the same time, I would rather everybody be talking about some weird shit that's going on that they don't understand than, you know, it's hiding stuff for the sake of covering someone else's ass. That's what gets me. It's the, I don't want to talk about it because I'm afraid of the ripple effect it will occur, or I don't want to talk about it because it covers up for someone and I need them at this point. Again, it's that cloak and dagger shit. If you can see something that's not right, say something. And if you know, and everyone has a conscience, if you know it's not right, say something. If you know it's fucked up, if you stand to benefit from it, even, you know it's fucked up, you know that tower's going to come eventually, it'll just crumble the situation, you're going to have to say something. Better to say something now than later and be culpable. You know, it's fucked up, say something. No amount of, you know, dragging it out or hiding from it or you know, trying to stay under the radar is going to save yourself in the end. Everything comes out in the wash. So you might as well just say it now and be done with it. Get the, you know, what do they say, the lighter sentence by admitting it. It's these things do happen, you know. Admit that you're wrong, go for the plea deal or something. I don't know. But, you know, I have no problem with people telling things, discussing things. Because, you know, as humans, we try and make sense of our environment and our reality by discussing things. We are a narrative-heavy species. Possibly other animals are, I don't know. But at the same time, it's okay to talk about stuff. Stop worrying about the ripple effect. Stop trying to hide from, you know, looking bad amongst your friends. If you're afraid of what your friends will think, they're probably not your friends, to be honest. So you need to reevaluate why you want to fit in with these people. Chances are that you're there for something that's not actually any kind of communal friendship thing. It's usually exploitation of one form or another, or abandonment issues, or, you know, fear of being alone. A lot of people are afraid to be on their own, so they tend to lump in with these toxic ass groups that, you know, sort of dictate what should be deemed as valuable, or who has the right, you know, approach to existence or whatever it is. And then they get stuck in these things because they're afraid to leave, or maybe someone's got dirt on them, or, you know, it's always this fucked up environment. I'd say better to be on your own than subject to someone else's judgment. Well, I say judgment, I judge everyone, I don't care. Everyone's going to judge everyone. Stop worrying about it. Stop taking it so personally, that's the thing. It just happens. People judge me, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to keep going. But at the same time, you know, you leave yourself open to exploitation if you're susceptible to the groups around you's. Like, if you're with a bunch of dicks, you're going to participate in dick activities just to fit in, aren't you? So why would you? Why? Because it makes you look like a dick. It's like, why? Now everyone else thinks you're a dick too, except for this one group of people you're with who are dicks. You know, it's weird dick analogies. Anyway, I'm gonna have to leave it there. Obviously, if you see something wrong, say something. Don't be in fear of what people will think about you, because fuck them. If it's wrong, it's wrong. It's, be honest, you know. I'm gonna leave it there because it is Wednesday. I've got one more work day and then we get the Easter holidays. And I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday, Odin's Day, and take it easy.